Welcome back to the Be a Man podcast, where we encourage men to be better men. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the podcast, to the video. I am glad that you are joining us today, tonight, tomorrow, in the morning, whenever you are listening. I greatly appreciate it, and I enjoy this opportunity to share something that has been very encouraging to me, and I think will be encouraging to you. There's just something about having some casual conversations. It's not really interviews that we're doing here. It's more of just a conversation between two guys that we just really want to talk through issues. I think in this last couple of years, we have lost the art of just having conversations about real life issues that affect all of us. And many times it's nothing, specific or a particular topic, but it's just shooting the breeze, but just enjoying one another's company. And I think tonight I've got on Terry. Terry runs the Porch Matters Podcast. And if you haven't listened, I think you would enjoy it. He's just, a great guy who just has a message, who just has people on. He'll talk about, and he'll tell you just about anything imaginable. But Terry's one of those guys that you think you could probably meet up for barbecue or something somewhere and just have a conversation for a couple of hours. He's just that type of guy. He's a good man. I've really enjoyed talking with him, and just just that relationship building that you can build there between two guys, and it doesn't hurt. We both like barbecue. We both like sports. We're bigger guys, all those types of things. And I just thoroughly enjoy that. But go check out his podcast. It's Porch Matters. His title, his catchphrase there is "Big issues or just a friendly conversation. No topic is off limits." And I think you will just thoroughly enjoy that as he just dives into a little bit of everything all over the place. And I have enjoyed it personally. It's just kind of a nice way to just not, it's easy to get involved in politics or any of those types of things. And, Terry is one of those, has one of those podcasts where you can listen to and just say, this is just fun to listen to. I really enjoy this, and I think you'll enjoy it too. Now, with that said, I need to tell you up front, we talked for a long time the other night, and I'm going to split this up into two podcasts, because if we went the whole long, I think you would stop listening because it would be super long. So I'm going to split it up into two. So there'll be a part one, part two. So look forward to both of those. If you missed part two, go back and listen to part one, because you will have more context to what's going on. But I'm going to try to split it up there. One of them, we get into more, just real life issues, situations, all those types of things. Another path, we're going to get into some college sports talk. And I enjoy that. He enjoys that. It was a good conversation, but you want to go back and listen to both parts, because I just think you're going to enjoy these conversations we had. So whether you're listening to part one or part two, I hope you enjoy it. If you do, go subscribe, go rate, go whatever to both of those sites, because it really does help us and get the word out. We really do appreciate it, but most of all, go and share them, because that is the best way other guys are going to hear about it and the word gets out there. And as you know, word of mouth is still the best form of communication and spreading the word and all those types of things. We really do appreciate it. And if you haven't already, go check out the link tree in my description. There's a free resource on there. There's links to the YouTube channel, the podcast. There's a link to the merch store if you just want to go pick up something to support the show. I greatly appreciate that. No pressure there. It's just fun stuff. It's just fun to do. This sweatshirt is one of those. This hoodie is one of those. I like wearing. It's fun. It's good materials. I wouldn't keep it on there or if it wasn't. So please know I've tried these things out. I like them. So I'm putting them out there for you just because it's fun to just, be creative and support one another. And I appreciate it. But once again, no pressure, but I always am grateful for whatever men are willing to do. So with that, I hope you enjoy these conversations with Terry. Without further ado, let's get into it. Well, hey, your Crimson Tide are doing pretty good.
They're struggling. They're struggling.
I'm not a Bill O'Brien fan, and I thought that was an odd move when Saban hired him. It just seems like he doesn't get the most out of the talent. It just seems like, and the defensive, I forget his name, the coordinator. You've got how many 5-star, all these, and I know the stars aren't all, but Will Anderson, he's a dude.
If Will Anderson doesn't go in the top 5 of the NFL draft, it's going to be a crime.
Yeah, I mean that guy, he's a dude.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased.
No,
that is a stud among men.
Yeah,
between his talent and his mindset.
Yeah,
freak of nature, and could possibly be the most valuable person on our team.
Yeah,
including Bryce.
Yeah, I would say he's probably number 1 on Bama. But it just seems like, and I know they're good, like they haven't lost, but it just seems like something's taken a step back this year. And I don't know what it is. And I know Saban, all these coaches coming and going all the time. That's just what comes with having success. But it has to be hard after a while. Like, it's pretty amazing what he's done to just keep this consistency going, despite losing so many coaches every year. I mean, it's just, and at some point you have to think it kind of it doesn't all gel, Yeah. And I think you're seeing that. I mean, you saw it a little last year with Georgia, and I'm not a huge Kirby Smart fan, but I think just everything just kind of clicked there. But
Georgia had the most talented football team in the country last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Alabama was in the middle of its first rebuilding year since Saban's second year there. Think about that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just think about that.
Yeah.
We have had one of the most amazing runs, if not the most amazing runs in college football history.
Yeah.
I dare you to tell me one other program that's had the success that we've had since Saban showed up. Yeah. Alabama has a problem right now. We have had 2 coaches that could possibly be called that are in the argument of being the greatest of all time.
Yep.
Bear Bryant, Nick Saban. Saban is chasing Bryant right now. And it's not going to last forever.
No.
There's still a lot of us, myself included, that remember when Alabama would go 6-6.
Yeah.
Win the Iron Bowl and possibly go 7-6, or just be 6-6 and get a bid to the Music City Bowl and be thrilled beyond belief to say that we made it to a bowl game.
Yep.
There are people out there right now that claim to be an Alabama fan that will absolutely lose their mind if we lose one game.
Yeah.
Complete meltdown.
Oh, yeah.
Over one loss.
Yeah.
And they forget the fact that Saban has only had 2 undefeated teams to win a national championship since he's been at Alabama. Yeah. So that means we've lost a few, folks. It's not the end of the world. And I used to be one of those that took it so stinking serious that I would, I'd go nuts.
Yeah.
I remember vividly one year sitting at a buddy of mine's house while I worked at the jail watching the Iron Bowl. And I want to say it was during the Cam Newton years.
Yeah.
I was sitting in his recliner, and every single time Alabama would screw up, I'd haul off with my right hand and slap that chair. I heard it crack one time. And I was like, This chair is at least a $600 chair, and I don't make nowhere near enough money to break this thing. I think I need to chill out.
Yeah.
You know, it's number one. I've never wore an Alabama jersey.
Yeah.
I've never ran through the tunnel. You know, it was always my dream, but my dream didn't come true because of knee issues and the fact that at the time, Alabama didn't even want to look at my tapes.
Sure.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
So if I've not been a part of the team, why am I taking it so stinking serious on what these kids are doing? Kids that are old, that I'm old enough to be their dad.
Yeah.
No, it's at the end of the day, whether any team wins or any team loses, unless the Lord comes back. And even if the Lord does come back, that sun's still going to rise the next day.
Yep.
So it's not the end of the world. And a lot of people take it way too seriously.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there are going to be a few games coming around the bend. This one coming up this weekend is one of them. Where if it's a nail biter, I might need to take a blood pressure pill.
Is this the Tennessee game?
Yes.
It's going to be good. I mean, Tennessee, I don't like how they're doing it. They're doing it the same way Texas A&M is doing it. They're just buying players. And I don't like it. Yeah, I mean, it's been going on for years, but now it's just legal, right? Air quotes there. Yeah, but it'll be a good game, especially if Bryce is still not 100%.
He's not, you know, good and well, he's not going to be 100%, but they've actually had him practicing. Yeah. And allegedly he's on a pitch count, which means he's throwing the ball. Thank God.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have him.
We need our quarterback back. This is possible. And I hadn't thought I was going to say this about a Tennessee football team in a very long time. Yeah. But this is going to be the toughest game that we play this year.
Yeah.
So far anyway. Yeah. Top to bottom, Tennessee hasn't looked this good since the 90s.
No. And I think they are on the rise. They've upped their recruiting, buying players, but still it will make hard games coming.
And that goes back to what you were talking about Alabama. Yeah, we've had issues and everything else, just like with coaches leaving and bringing in different philosophies and this, that, and the other. But at the same time, Coach Saban has still kept it together.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a Saban team so undisciplined since his first year with all of these penalties. These penalties are crazy.
That's what I've noticed. And the secondary was always good because he had his hands on secondary. But
Coach Saban actually coaches the DBs. Yeah.
But they've taken even a step back, it seems like, which is weird to see.
Yeah.
But
I don't necessarily – I think we have took a little bit of a step back, definitely on the penalties and everything else. But I also think our competition around us has stepped up too.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more of a level playing field, which is always great great for college football.
Yeah. When do they play LSU?
Later on in November.
Man, I hope they just lay the smack on LSU. Because I was never a Brian Kelly fan.
No.
I hope they just whip the snot out of that team.
Me too. But me being the fan that I am, I hate close games when Alabama's play. I absolutely hate them. I want them to beat somebody 60-0. I want that.
Yeah.
If they're on the road, I want that stadium half empty by the time it's over. If I'm going to watch a nail biter, I want it to be with two teams that I'm not near as invested in. That way I can just sit back and enjoy the game for what it is.
Well, yeah, who was it? That TCU Kansas game?
Yes.
That was an awesome game. Like, where has Kansas come from? I mean,
they do this every 5 or 10 years. They'll have a team that's noteworthy, but then as soon as it's over, that season's over, it's like they can't keep it going.
Yeah. Well, usually the coach gets poached. I've heard Nebraska's looking at him, so
that would not surprise me. That's a program that just disappoints me.
Like, why?
I don't understand why Nebraska is not any bigger than what it is.
Yeah,
because it used to be a power.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Big 12 was originally built, or was supposed to be built around Nebraska, not Texas. It was supposed to be built around Nebraska.
Yeah.
Even though you had Oklahoma there too, which has always been a power.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point in time, if you lost one game at Oklahoma, it was, Armageddon, much like it is in Alabama these days.
Yeah. Bob Stoops had that program rolling.
Even before him.
Yeah.
The coach that was there that went to Dallas. Yeah. I can't remember his name.
I can't either.
It was whenever the guy that had the mohawk.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
I can't remember his name now. So Brian Bosworth. Back in the 80s. They were strong back then too.
Yeah. Lincoln Riley's interesting to me. I can't tell if he's a good coach or not.
I can't believe he left Oklahoma for I really can't.
Yeah.
I really can't.
I was a little surprised. I mean, you can own all of California, but they don't seem to be producing the same amount of talent that they used to for whatever reason.
They get poached, just like Florida.
And Texas and Florida is just, they've upped even more.
Your biggest recruiting hotbeds have always traditionally been, and not necessarily in this order either, Florida, Ohio, Texas, California.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody always goes to those states to try and get recruits.
Yeah.
Louisiana is somewhere in there too.
Yeah.
Louisiana's always been a hotbed.
Yeah. There's some other, I think Arizona's on the rise a little bit for whatever reason. I think populations change a little. So you see these like states out of nowhere just kind of rise up for whatever reason.
I didn't think there was much grass in Arizona. How are they playing football?
I didn't either, man. Phoenix, man, they're booming.
Yes, they are.
I'm saying, yes,
they are.
I think you're starting to see some of that change a little, but it'll be interesting. I still think it'll come down to Georgia, Alabama.
I do too.
There'll be Ohio State probably be in the Big Ten's way down this year. I think Ohio State will be in there, but they're not the team they have been. No, they're not.
I haven't had a chance to pay real close attention to Michigan this year. How are they doing?
They're undefeated.
Who have they played?
That's the thing. They haven't really played anybody yet.
I mean, I know I'm biased with the SEC and all, but
I'm not convinced personally. There's too many holes. I think Ohio State will get them back this year because they beat them Michigan beat them last year, that's the first time Harbaugh had beat them.
Yeah.
And I think they'll get them back this year. They started two different quarterbacks to start the season. One guy 1 week, another guy the second week, and then they picked the second guy to lead the rest of the year. It was weird. But they beat like Wyoming, like these no-name smaller schools. I'm like, and they're ranked like number 4. I'm like, what do we really know? I mean, nothing. And I don't know about USC if they're any good because their defense looks not great, but they can generate points. But their defense is just, and how do you really know? Because the Pac-12 is horrible.
The ranking system is so.
Yeah, I agree.
So messed up. It's still popular opinion. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Now that all of these teams are joining in on the bigger conference and trying to create these super conferences. Okay, since we're doing away with a lot of traditions anyway.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do it right. Let's get the SEC, ACC. If you want to rebuild the Big East, great.
Yeah.
If not, whatever. Big 10. Try to salvage the Big 12 if possible. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I mean, if I were them, I'd be signing Memphis. I'd be signing whoever I could get. And I would definitely restructure that whole conference to where you actually pay equally. And I hate to keep bringing up the SEC like it's just the most amazing conference in the world, but they really are. Yeah. Every single college inside the SEC gets an equal share.
Yeah.
Don't matter if you finish dead last or you go to the national championship game. Everybody gets the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Big 12, Oklahoma, Nebraska, that's the main reason why Nebraska left. They wouldn't get like $11 million a year, whereas Texas was getting 22 plus their own network.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't right.
No.
That ain't right at all. God knows what's going on over in the Pac-12 with USC, Oregon, UCLA, and all of them.
Yeah.
Don't know. But take all of your big conferences, make them 16 teams big.
Yeah.
Split that 16 into 8. Have 2 divisions. Each conference have 2 divisions. Whoever wins each division goes head to head. You've got a conference champion. Each one of them, you have to win your conference to qualify for the playoffs.
Yeah.
You have to. That makes your conference games more important. Unfortunately, it takes away some of the smaller schools because you're not going to be able to help them. Yeah, a lot of people can't stand those games because they're not fun to watch. But do you realize that
they make a lot of money?
That this little bitty school, that's going to be their biggest money maker of the year, even though they're going to get hammered 60-0.
Yeah,
that's
the only reason they still have a football school or program.
That's
really
and in a lot of instances, your college football team funds your entire athletic department.
Yeah, most schools are like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, as popular, I mean, there could be exceptions with like Duke and Kentucky, Kansas, other schools like that are more basketball oriented. Yeah. But the majority of schools in this nation are football first.
Yep.
And have been for years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where your money is to get through the year to help support your kids. Yeah. And half of them support the band and everything else.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money like that goes into all aspects of the school.
Yeah.
But that's the only downside to what I'm saying. But build them all up, 16 teams, make there be a conference champion. Each conference champion play one another. Make it even if you have to create a new conference and add 16 other teams to it. That way you can have one undisputed champion at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And use your big bowls that are regional all right, for an example, Rose Bowl has always been Big Ten versus Pac-12. Always has been, or at least it used to be anyway.
Yeah.
You could take the Rose Bowl, for example, put your Pac-12 champion against your Big 12 champion in a playoff.
Yep.
Sugar Bowl has always been a big granddaddy event for the SEC. Yep. Bring in the ACC's champion if you want to for it. Yep. Or the Gator Bowl or whichever other, or the Sun Bowl or whatever else.
Yeah.
Make those bowls more important.
Yeah.
At least your bigger name ones. And then, the ones that don't make the playoffs, take your pick and have your bowl games.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see the 8-team playoff when it comes out. Cause I thought it was interesting because the Big Ten, they were trying hard to get Notre Dame. And it was actually the SEC that said, we'll support you if you stay independent. Because
that makes no sense to me.
Look at the viewing of games this year. Notre Dame's on top of almost every single one.
Well, they always have been because of their fan base and their deal with NBC.
Yeah, the SEC wants to schedule more games, and they have games coming up in future years, quite a few. They know that those will be huge money generators. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised, but I get it because I think they're playing Bama here in a year or two.
Yes, they are.
That'll be interesting.
I would love to get my hands on a ticket, and not in Bryant Denny either. I would love to go to South Bend.
Yeah.
because when it comes to football, I am a traditionalist.
Yeah.
And even though I'm not the biggest Notre Dame fan in the world, I respect their traditions. Just like tons of history. Yeah. Arguably one of the best schools historically.
Yeah.
In the history of the NCAA.
Yeah.
Same thing with USC. I mean, but just between those two schools alone, over half the Heisman Trophy winners have come out of those two schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you think about it, or maybe not half, maybe that's a bit much, but a lot of Heisman Trophy winners have come out of those two schools.
Yeah.
You know, to me, on the West Coast, USC is king.
Yep. Yeah.
Not
the only one. The only team that's come close is Oregon, and I don't think they're not the same.
UCLA has had its moments over the years.
Yeah.
So has Stanford, but
they're different. They're decent this year too. UCLA is for Pac-12.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just like in the central states. Texas has always been Texas.
Yeah.
That's what you've got too much money there. And the way the new rules are right now, there ain't no way anybody's going to be able to compete with all that oil money.
No.
Like, especially with their track record. Yeah. Hello, death penalty back in the 80s. They didn't care back then. And now that they can do it now and get away with it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Texas is on the rise, my friend.
Oh, yeah. And I think Sarkisian's a good coach. He messed up with USC and all that, but I think that time with Saban really helped him. He's a smart coach. He gave Bama a run.
Yes, he did.
And they got cheated out of some calls on that game. Like, that
goes both ways.
I'm not like blame the refs for everything.
Yeah.
But there's some I can't stand the targeting call.
It drives me nuts.
Because it's never consistent. I've not seen one game where they call it consistently.
Neither is holding calls on the offensive line, and neither is pass interference.
Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense.
Why? Because if you really want to get technical with it, I'm a lineman. At least I used to be.
Yeah.
The way they teach to block, you're holding every play.
Oh yeah.
When I was in Pee Wee, they used to teach us how to throw a forearm.
Yeah.
Now, what do? You come up with your hands and put them in their armpits, or grab a hold. They actually tell you to grab a hold of their jersey right here in the front.
Yep.
That's holding.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw a replay from the last Alabama game. Alabama's defensive player was really close to catching the quarterback. And right in the middle of the replay, it shows the lineman literally reaching around over the top of his back and everything, and just basically riding his back right in front of the ref.
Yeah.
Did the ref call it? Nope.
No. Yeah. It makes no
sense. That's what I was saying. I get it. Yeah. They got away with this call. They got away with that call. Yeah. That works both ways.
Yeah. I'd rather, like, the Notre Dame played BYU last week, and there was 3 flags the whole game. And it was awesome. Like, it was awesome. Oh yeah. And it wasn't until late in the third that they threw a flag. It was some dumb penalty or something. It was some kind of holding that they couldn't get out of. But it was awesome just to what they were just letting them play. And it didn't get, overly violent, if you will. I mean, football's violent, but it's meant to be. That's why guys do it. But it was refreshing. I mean, the game was just flowing because of that. It was great to see, because there wasn't, these 5-minute, review process and all that kind of stuff that goes into it now. And I'm like, this is kind of nice. Like, finally a game.
I'm there again. I'm traditional.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of these spread offenses where you're going 5 wide and high
the air raid. Yeah.
I'm not that big of a fan of it. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate it. I think it's got its place,
Yeah.
But to me, a good football game is whenever you are taking advantage of the play clock. Time of possession is still a very big thing. Why? Because your offense is supposed to move the ball down the field and score, but it's also supposed to help keep your defense rested.
Sure.
Because defense wins championships.
Yeah.
I had this argument with somebody that I worked with before, and he thought that I was just out of my mind. But at the
they'll
same
at least
time,
get you there. They'll at least get you there.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you have a high-powered offense and that's all you've got,
yeah,
there's so much pressure on you to have to score every single play.
Oklahoma.
You can't stop anybody, but you can try to outscore them. The only thing that has to happen is a mediocre defense shuts you down for one drive, maybe two.
Yep.
But their mediocre offense handles the ball, has time of possession, everything like that. Yep. Defenses can score too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to me, you need to have every aspect of it. You need to have a fantastic running game. That's just the way I feel. And you need to be able to drop back and pass whenever those safeties walk up to try and stop the run.
Yeah.
You need to be able to do, but you need to be able to do it all. I mean, even the pros these days, you have a decent running game and they're still throwing the ball 50 and 60 times a game, which drives me nuts. But because now it's running back by committee. Back whenever we were growing up, you could still remember the main running back for every team out there.
Yeah.
Emmett.
And you got to have. Oh, yeah.
The Jerome Bettis. Even with Tampa Bay before they got huge. Warwick Dunn and Mike Allstott. Mike Allstott was a beast.
Yeah, he was awesome.
I loved his running
style. I loved him.
I loved watching Jerome Bettis run. If I had one team to pull for in the NFL, if I actually took it that serious, I've always loved the Steelers. Yeah. Because of their tradition, mainly. Yeah. I loved them in Green Bay too. Yeah. But I think that a more pro style offense where you're running and you're also passing as well. There needs to be a balance there. It shouldn't be all just run and go. Yeah. And for the life of me, I understand part of the psychology of the whole fast-paced offense just to try and tire out a defense. I get that. But just like with Saban's argument several years ago, it seems like more rules are getting put in place to hurt defenses and help offenses, whereas beforehand it wasn't that way. Yeah. I mean, now everything's garnered for offenses because they think the more the offense scores, the more ratings will get drawn in. Yeah. Well, it's true. Yeah. I mean, depending on who's playing, but I saw something the other day that's pretty interesting. The older quarterbacks who had at least more than 1 year, their teams are winning at a higher rate than those who are starting like a first-time guy or a transfer guy or something like that, which I thought was interesting because, I mean, you're seeing this whole transfer portal one and done type deals, but you're not seeing that translate into success on the field for the teams. That's interesting, I think, because I think those trends you're going to see played out even more here in the coming years. There are a few exceptions to that rule, like Jahmyr Gibbs, for example. Yeah. For Alabama. I know I'm biased, folks. I can't help it. Roll Tide. He's quick. He's a quick guy. Yes, he is. He's good. And whereas he had moderate success at Georgia Tech, but the transfer for him has been nothing short of phenomenal. Yeah. Especially when Bryce got hurt, because that was his time to shine. Yeah. Had to. So I think his draft stock has went up significantly. Now I can't remember his name, but the guy that came over from LSU last year to Alabama in the transfer portal, he's already talking about transferring out now. You know, it's
they've screwed this up so much.
It's stupid.
The NCAA has screwed this up.
Yeah.
It's just a lack of leadership. I mean, they're frustrating.
Yeah. I hadn't got no problem with these kids wanting to transfer out. I don't have any problem with that. However, I think that they shouldn't be allowed to transfer but one time.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah. I think there should be some, boundaries.
Yes.
Like, I thought before your coach leaves, you should have an option,
Yes.
I know you signed up with the school, but the main driver of that was the coach.
I signed up to play for the coach.
Yeah. So, I mean, there should have been some exemptions there.
Yeah.
But this whole do whatever, and you can basically transfer. I mean, I forget that one guy's name. He's transferred like 5 times now because of the COVID year. He was able to transfer, and he's been a dud. He was a 5-star. Can't remember his name. It'll come to me after.
That's gonna bug you. And then after we get done recording, I'll get a message at about midnight.
He's got a weird name. Like it's a unique name. I can't remember it. It's gonna bug me.
It is. I can see it bugging you right now. Folks, he's going nuts. He's calm. He's like a duck on a pond right now. He's calm and cool on the outside, but underneath that water, them feet are just churning a mile a minute. That's what my man Justin is doing right now.
Till my head explodes.
Yeah, I don't believe they should have the opportunity to transfer every year. But no, you need to sit down. You need to figure out where you need to go, and you get one shot.
Yeah. And I don't we've created a culture where there's no responsibility for your actions. And I feel like we are just rewarding that or even encouraging, just do whatever you want. We'll reward you for not really making the commitment and sticking with it. Right. I think that sets up young people, especially for a world of hurt in their future. I don't like that aspect of it, I respect guys like Dabo, who I don't know if he's taken any transfers. He's kind of publicly come out against it, the whole thing. And although I don't know if you can compete at a high level doing that anymore, I respect it because he's got a backbone and he's willing to trust his recruiters and his recruiting to get him there. And
I've always had an appreciation of Dabo, not just because he was built by Bama, but he's always been a stand-up guy.
Yeah, he just seems like a guy who has some character to him, some backbone, and just some things I've heard outside of it. Some guys who have met him that I know, they say the same thing. He gives them the time of day. And some coaches, they don't. They won't give you anything.
If I would have had the opportunity to play for him, I'd have played for him in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I've heard just a handful of guys. Navy's coach is that way. David Shaw for Stanford is that way. Freeman at Notre Dame is that way.
Man in Penn State. He came from Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
His
Franklin.
James Franklin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I swore up and down if he would have stayed at Vanderbilt 2 more years, Vanderbilt would have had a very, very, very strong shot at playing in Atlanta for a championship.
Yeah.
People thought I was crazy. I saw that. He's a guy that changes the culture.
Yeah. I like what Clark Lee is doing there this year. They've really taken a step forward. I mean, they were kind of a dumpster fire last year. Yeah. He's really started to change that program around, which is good, I think, for the SEC. They need more of that. Those little schools doing better. Yeah. Yeah.
I've still got this goal that I'm wanting to see a bunch of different stadiums and a bunch of different, not just when Alabama goes, because those tickets are expensive. It is what it is. When Bama comes to town, those ticket prices get jacked up anywhere between $150 to $200. The ticket for Knoxville this weekend, nosebleed is like $400 to $500.
Oh, I bet.
It's ridiculous.
It's huge.
Whenever I can't remember the year, but Iron Bowl is huge in this state.
Yeah.
Everything stops for the Iron Bowl. And historically, whoever wins that game always ends up in one way, shape, form, or fashion going to the SEC championship. It's a very big game. And I know you're a Big Ten guy, but I will argue this with you. Everybody always talks about how important and how special Michigan and Ohio State is and how it's the biggest rivalry in the country.
Yeah.
I strongly, as much as I appreciate that game and appreciate that rivalry, at least on the Michigan side, I am not an Ohio State fan. I apologize to anybody, any of your listeners. However, you've never had the state politicians actually shut that rivalry down for 40 years by passing laws saying that the two schools couldn't play. That's how heated Alabama and Auburn have gotten in their history.
Crazy. Yeah. It's just nuts.
Yeah. That's how heated it has gotten. In Alabama, we will ask you if you are an Alabama or an Auburn fan before we even ask your name. Think about that.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. But football in this state is life to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I've made this joke several times on my podcast, but there is a radio station that does nothing but sports talk out of Birmingham. If Nick Saban were to go outside of his mansion and pee behind a bush in the middle of February, whenever there's not any football going on, it would be talked about on that show. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
As much as I love that coach and love that program, I don't have to hear about it 365 days a year, 366 on a leap year.
That's all you got in Alabama.
It really is. But and that's the way it is. A lot. If you were to bring a pro team into this state right now, I'm honestly surprised that the USFL chose Birmingham of all places to hold every game that they had this year.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly surprised that the attendance was as strong as it was.
Yeah.
Because historically speaking, pro teams in this state do not do well because college football and college sports period is our be all end all.
Yeah.
Always has been, always will be. Nick Saban wins the governor's office every single election.
Yeah.
People write him in. Now that could be because they love the coach. Could be they hate their options. Either way,
a little bit of
he has to verbally turn down the office every single election.
Yeah, man, I feel for whoever comes in behind him. It's
you and me both.
Because it's going to be rough. Because
it is definitely going to be rough.
That's a unique.
And they just remodeled Bryant-Denny one more time and took away several people's season tickets to build those boxes in there.
Yeah.
And that makes me so stinking mad. That's one thing that I will say that the Big Ten and some of the older schools, because that's the bulk of the older schools is the Big Ten, because that was the very first conference.
Yeah.
Props to you.
Yeah.
But I always thought that the Big Ten schools had it right when it came to stadiums. Good old red brick and mortar, and there wasn't nothing in there but bleachers.
Yeah.
Lawyers could sit next to garbage men, who could sit next to doctors, who could sit next to teachers, who could sit down next to whoever.
Yeah.
There wasn't no separation. Everybody was there for one reason and one reason only, to cheer your team on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with all of these boxes and everything else, you're taken away from that.
Yeah. And all these stadiums, they have jacked the prices so high. Like, I couldn't take my kids and my wife. I mean, you're looking at $1,000. Take 4 kids. I mean, and that's not even really food. That's just parking and tickets.
I have been on the season ticket waiting list for Bryant-Denny Stadium for over 15 years.
Wow. Yeah. Well, Saban leaves, you might get tickets.
That's the only positive to him leaving.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the only positive to him leaving. Yeah. And here's the thing. That might happen, but there are a lot of fans that have had their season tickets way before Saban showed up. A lot of people will leave them to people in their will.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could get season tickets. I might not.
Yeah.
Even after he leaves.
Yeah.
And God knows I don't want to see him leave anytime soon, but Father Time's going to catch up to him.
Yeah.
He's gonna want to go home and retire sooner or later.
Yeah. I mean, you're already seeing his patience level. He's starting to snap a little more, and that's when these guys get, it's getting close.
That man, they start snapping since he first got there.
It feels different now for whatever reason. I don't know.
I think it's because he's feeling more pressure.
Yeah, probably. These other teams are getting a little better.
Yeah. The other teams are catching up. Yeah. And a lot of that's his fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because look at how many assistants he's put out, as you talked about.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned Kirby. You mentioned, Sarkisian.
Yeah.
We can talk about Lane Kiffin. I never in my life ever thought I'd be a Lane Kiffin fan, but that man changed after he came to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I mean, so did Sark. I mean, he did too.
Yes, he did.
We'll see about O'Brien. I'm not a fan, but
I'm not a huge fan, but at the same time, he's had success and he can't do nothing without Saban's okay.
That's true.
That's part of the success. It don't matter what coach you bring in.
Yeah.
You're not running your stuff. You're running Saban's stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're running Saban's offense. You're running Saban's defense. You're running Saban's special teams lineups.
Yeah.
You're just following the lead of the man.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just making sure you're not messing up.
Yeah.
Don't be the reason you lose.
Right. And Alabama fans have took football, as I was telling you earlier, way too serious for a long time. Bill Curry didn't get a fair shake. He had winning seasons his 4 years here, but he lost to Auburn all 4 years. He got bricks thrown through his window and ran out of Tuscaloosa.
That's crazy.
Because he lost to Auburn.
Yeah.
That's for real. Crazy. That's a fact. He used to get He used to get his windows busted.
That's just nuts. That is nuts, man.
But it's nuts to everybody that doesn't live it.
Yeah. I mean, it was similar in Kentucky with basketball.
God.
Kentucky basketball. I mean, they'd lose in the tournament. People would come to church the next day in all black.
Right.
Like, what in the world?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's how serious they take it there.
That's what they have. I mean, there's no pro teams there either.
Yeah. That's like North Carolina and Duke. People camp out outside the stadiums and everything 2 weeks at a time just to be able to get in to watch that. I'm sorry. I'm not camping out for 2 weeks.
It's not happening.
To watch a basketball game. I'm not even going to do that for a football game, brother.
I know.
I'm not doing it.
It's crazy. It's just crazy. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
But, that's what it is. Yeah. And to bring it all back, if we could be that passionate about our relationships with Christ, if we could be that passionate about local, state, and federal politics, if we could put that much passion into other things, more important things, would be so much better.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. Developing, other men who catch the vision, just they want to up their game. Sounds like you're doing that. I'm doing that. There's a lot of other guys I've been talking to who are doing that too. Just trying to up it, because if we don't, who will? And we got to lead the way.
We've got people watching us.
Yeah.
People younger than us are watching us. We're setting the example for them. If we don't do something, who's going to teach them how to do it?
Sure. Yeah. Somebody will teach them something, but it won't be the right thing.
That's it.
And, that lies on us. And we've got to pave that way. But man, Terry, I've enjoyed this.
Same here, my friend.
I'm getting a message that my wife needs help laying kids down. So we're going to have to wrap this up, but I have enjoyed catching up. It's been too long, and we need to do this more often, because one of these days when we're a little closer, maybe in Nashville or something, we need to get together for some barbecue.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Hey, we need to, because we could go for a long time, I think. Might have to bring out another order.
Might have to.
That'd be fun.
Let's talk about it later on whenever we're not recording. Let's see if we can figure out a date and we'll make it happen.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Terry, I appreciate you coming on. Anything you want to leave people with? Any message, anything like that?
I would. If you're new to this show, stick with this man, because this man has got a lot to pour into you. Tell your friends about this show. Share this show on your social media. I don't know how many listeners that are listening to this right now, but every single one of you need to share it at least once. Share it with at least one person that you're close to in your circle, because whatever that number is, it needs to double, and then it needs to triple, because this man is awesome. This man is authentic. And I think that after you listen to him, you will be better off. If you happen to like what I'm doing, or you happen to like anything that I've said, I don't know why you would, but if you do, go to mine and check out what I'm doing. I do different things each week. That's one thing that I've been told. The people that tune into my show never know what they're going to hear next, and I kind of like it that way.
Yeah.
But I usually release a show every other Sunday. I'm bi-weekly. I don't just release every week. If my audience gets big enough, I will release every week. But you can go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, punch in Porch Matters Podcast into your search bar, and you can pull me up. I've got a Facebook page and a Facebook group. I invite you to please join. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you like what you hear there, help me spread the word.
Yeah, definitely. I'll drop the links in the description as well. So hopefully people will go check you out. And yeah, let's grow these platforms and give people more opportunities to just share. Because I find that I walk away more challenged and more encouraged than anything I could ever say. It does more for me personally than probably, anyone listening, but I enjoy this thoroughly. And I appreciate you coming on, Terry. I really do. It's been a good conversation.
As I told you earlier, my friend, anytime I can help you, you be sure to reach out to me and I'll be there.
Will do. Appreciate you.
Justin, I love you and I appreciate you, man.